They told me to go back because I'm an uneducated country girl.
Huh? Not understanding the situation, I asked for more details. Apparently, after attending a meeting at the headquarters, Lisa was bullied by Eric, the head of the sales department at the headquarters. Meanwhile, the other participants, who had gathered from different branches, just stood by, watching and smirking without trying to stop Eric. Shocked, she held back her tears and returned to the office. Hearing the details of the situation, I felt a surge of anger. This is unbelievable. In that case, I'll make them regret it. I decided to take action on Lisa's behalf and impose consequences on them. Ignoring her confusion, I picked up the phone on my desk and called John Clark, the president of the headquarters. Hello. Listen, I'm firing all of them. What? John was shocked by my sudden declaration. My name is Billy White, a 49-year-old man. I'm currently the branch manager at a small insurance company called Sunny Life Insurance, located near the headquarters. Right after graduating from college, I joined the sales department of Sunny Life Insurance. Despite struggling, I worked hard every day. That hard work paid off, and I steadily climbed the ranks, eventually leading a branch as the manager. Besides my regular duties as branch manager, I also focus on training the employees. To be honest, our branch had lower sales compared to others, and the morale of the employees had dropped. To solve this issue, I read books on leadership and implemented what I learned, listening to employees' opinions and complaints, and working on improvements to boost their motivation. As a result of trying various methods, the employees' motivation quickly recovered, and our branch's sales began to rise as well. Now, our sales are as strong as any other branch. With the morale of the employees high, I was confident in our operations. Then, one day, a notice came from the headquarters. It seemed that a meeting was going to be held there. This meeting would gather representatives from the sales departments of various branches to report on their activities, discuss the progress of their assigned quotas, and brainstorm ideas for boosting sales. Normally, I would have sent our branch's sales manager, but he was currently assisting another branch. So, I decided to send a new salesperson, Lisa, who had just joined 6 months ago. Despite being a rookie, she worked as hard as anyone else and was quite capable. That's why I felt comfortable in trusting her with this task. On the day of the meeting, I called Lisa into my office. Good luck at the headquarters meeting. You're always so serious, so be sure not to overdo it.
Yes, thank you. I'll do my best without pushing myself too hard.
She responded cheerfully and headed to the headquarters, full of enthusiasm. But 30 minutes later, Lisa returned to my office for some reason. Huh? What happened? Isn't the meeting still going on? Did you forget something?
Well, they told me to go back because I'm an uneducated country girl.
Huh? Not understanding the situation, I asked for more details. Apparently, after arriving at the meeting, she was bullied by Eric, the head of the sales department at the headquarters.
I don't recognize you. Are you new? Why is a rookie here?
Well, I'm here to attend in place of my manager.
In place? You? So where are you from? And what's your education?
Although surprised by the sudden questions, Lisa answered honestly. She had told me before that she came from a rural area far from the city. For personal reasons, her highest level of education is a high school diploma. But Lisa was honest about that with Eric as well. And then he suddenly burst out laughing.
So, you're just a high school graduate from the countryside? Someone like you has no business at the headquarters. You're an eyesore. Get out of here, you uneducated country girl.
What?
Lisa was bewildered by the harsh words thrown at her. Meanwhile, the other participants from various branches just stood by, smirking, without trying to stop Eric. Shocked, she held back her tears and returned straight to the office. Hearing about the situation, I felt a surge of anger. This is unacceptable. I'll make them regret this. I decided to take matters into my own hands and deal out some consequences on Lisa's behalf. Wait here. I'm calling them now. Ignoring her confusion, I picked up the phone on my desk and called John Clark, the president of the headquarters. But he didn't answer. I kept calling, about 5 times, and finally, John picked up. Hello. John, you're as slow as ever to answer the phone. Could you at least pick up on the first ring?
Billy, I'm sorry. I was just a bit busy.
He quickly straightened up his tone.
Anyway, what's going on? It's not like you to call out of the blue. Is there some urgent matter?
It's sudden, but I'm firing them all.
What?
John raised his voice, shocked by my abrupt statement.
What do you mean? Why would you say something like that?
There's a meeting going on over there, right? Representatives from the branch sales departments should be gathered.
Yes, the meeting is currently in progress. But what about it?
He seemed confused, unaware of the incident. I carefully explained the situation to him. We sent a new employee from our branch to attend, but it seems Eric from the headquarters sales department turned her away.
What? Is that true?
Yes, I heard it directly from Lisa herself. She's an honest person and wouldn't lie about this. So why is the meeting continuing without any issues? Speaking in a low voice, I could hear John's voice tremble with concern.
Lisa, you mean I'll stop the meeting immediately. I'll also question Eric about the situation. So please give me a moment.
Please do. And bring Eric to our branch. I want to hear his side of the story.
Understood. We'll come right away.
With that, he hung up the phone abruptly without even saying goodbye. As I calmly placed the receiver down, Lisa spoke up, worried.
What just happened? By them, you mean the headquarters, right? Who did you call?
Oh, that was John, the CEO of the headquarters. He's bringing Eric here, and I'm going to make him apologize to you.
What? Eric is coming?
Her face clouded as she recalled what had happened at the meeting. Seeing her expression, I tried to reassure her. Don't worry. I called him here to apologize to you, so he won't be throwing any more insults.
But I feel bad making him come all the way here just for me. I'll be fine, really.
No, this situation needs to be addressed immediately. It can't be ignored. You wouldn't want to keep working with this weighing on your mind, right? Let's wait here for a little while. With that, we stayed in the room, waiting for their arrival. 15 minutes later, there was a knock on the door of the branch manager's office. When I responded, the door slowly opened, revealing a pale-faced John and a confused-looking Eric.
Sorry to keep you waiting.
Excuse me.
Welcome, John Eric. I assume you know why you were called here? Sitting back in my desk chair, I glared at them. John was trembling with fear. but Eric still seemed to be confused about the situation.
Actually, I'm not entirely sure what this is about. The meeting was abruptly stopped, and I was brought here without any explanation. What do you want with me?
Oh, you say you don't remember something that just happened a moment ago? Well, do you at least remember her? I certainly hope so, because it would be a real problem if you didn't. I gestured toward Lisa, who was standing next to me. Though she had been looking down, she mustered up the courage to slowly lift her gaze toward Eric. As if suddenly remembering, Eric's eyes widened slightly.
Oh, you're that high school graduate from the countryside. What are you doing here? Did you get kicked out of the meeting room and come back to get scolded by the branch manager?
No, that's not it.
Hey, you. What on earth are you saying? Apologize to Lisa right now. Quickly.
John, in a panic, yelled at him. Eric was greatly surprised.
What's going on? Why are you so worked up? She's just a high school graduate, right? She's not someone important.
On the contrary, she is an important person. Billy told me himself that Lisa here is his niece.
What?
Eric stood there, dumbfounded, his eyes wide with shock.
Oh, I see. I'm terribly sorry. I had no idea she was the Billy's niece. I retract what I said earlier.
Why are you so calm about this? Don't you know who Billy is?
Huh? He's the branch manager, right? What else is there?
Eric replied immediately, without hesitation. John, visibly frustrated and anxious, began explaining who I was in response to that answer.
Don't be ridiculous. He is the chairman of Sunny Life Insurance. Don't even try to claim you didn't know that.
What? What?
Finally realizing who I was and understanding the gravity of the situation, Eric raised his voice in shock. As John said, I'm not just the branch manager. I'm also the chairman of the company. You might wonder if it's possible to hold both positions simultaneously. But as long as the company's size, internal regulations, and legal requirements are met, it can be done. Of course, I had already explained the reasons for holding both positions, along with the benefits and risk management strategies, to the employees, business partners, and shareholders, and had gained their approval. Even though I explained this, Eric still didn't seem to grasp it.
Wait a minute. I didn't know anything about this. Did you properly explain it to all the employees?
You were transferred to the headquarters about 4 months ago, right? Even so, it's strange that you wouldn't know. We made sure to notify all branches before I started as branch manager. I became the branch manager 3 years ago, and at that time, Eric was working as the sales manager at another branch. So he should have received the notification I sent. As proof, all the employees are aware of this fact. Suddenly, it seemed like Eric remembered something.
Wait, maybe. I do recall going through the notifications from headquarters, but the content,
He tried hard to remember, racking his brain for the details. But in the end, it seemed he couldn't recall the contents of any of the notifications. From what he told me, it turns out that he rarely paid attention to notifications and often tossed them in the trash. Even when he did read them, he would forget about them by the next day. What's more, he even forgot the name of the chairman, me, and the names of the branch managers other than those from his own branch. After hearing the situation, John shook his head in disbelief.
Seriously, this is too much. You have zero interest in others. You should at least remember the chairman's name. If you had, you would have immediately realized that he's serving as branch manager here.
But the chairman hardly ever comes to the office, and I only see the other branch managers at meetings. Of course, I'm going to forget their names. I'm not to blame here.
He tried to explain desperately, but both John and I were just exasperated. I never imagined you'd be such a forgetful employee. Or is it that you lack the ability to manage your surroundings?
I'm sorry. Sorry to trouble you, but could you please explain the content of that notification again? It probably covered the reasons for the dual role and the background, right?
Seeing that Eric had no idea, I reluctantly began to explain in detail how I came to hold both positions. After graduating from college, I steadily rose through the ranks at this branch before being transferred to headquarters, where I became executive vice president. I continued to advance and, at 43, I was appointed as the president of the headquarters. I planned to continue working as president, but 3 years later, I received a surprising report from the person in charge of this branch at the time. After I was transferred to the headquarters, sales had gradually declined, employee morale had dropped, and there was a significant increase in resignations. If the situation continued, we would have to consider closing the branch. This branch held a special place in my heart, so I couldn't just stand by. I immediately convened a board meeting, explained the situation, and obtained their approval. Afterward, I carried out the necessary procedures, including amending the company's bylaws to establish the position of chairman, and appointed John, whom I deemed suitable as the next president, as my successor. I stepped down as president and took on the role of chairman. Soon after, I became the branch manager of this location and immediately began identifying and addressing the causes of the declining sales. The results of those efforts are reflected in the current success of our branch, I explained, as Eric looked down in shame.
So, that's the story. The notification was sent out for such a deep reason, but I thought it was just another power-saving memo and skimmed through it before throwing it away.
Seriously, what were you thinking? But now you understand, right? Billy is an extraordinary person. And you must realize the gravity of what you've done to Lisa, don't you?
Oh, yes.
Eric, who had apparently forgotten all about Lisa, suddenly began to tremble with fear.
She's your niece, right, Billy?
Well, yes, that's correct.
Exactly. She's my brother's daughter. And there's a reason why her highest education is only a high school diploma. I then began explaining about Lisa. I actually had an older brother, Alex, who was 2 years my senior. But he passed away in an unfortunate accident when I was 27. He was engaged at the time, and his fiancée attended the funeral. 16 years passed, and by the time I became president of the company, I received a shocking call from my mother one day.
Billy, don't be too surprised, but Alex's fiancée had a child, a daughter named Lisa.
What? Alex had a daughter? Of course, I had no idea, so I was extremely shocked. My mother explained that about 2 hours before she called me, my brother's fiancée had reached out to her. It turned out that at the time of the funeral, she was already pregnant with Lisa, my brother's child. However, she wasn't aware of it at the time. When she discovered she was pregnant, she considered informing our family immediately. But because she and my brother were only engaged and not yet married, so she didn't want to burden us with this news while we were still grieving. Her parents had already passed away, leaving her with no close friends or anyone to turn to for advice. but she went ahead and gave birth to Lisa. For 16 years, she worked tirelessly to raise Lisa on her own. But eventually, she collapsed from overwork and had to be hospitalized. At the time, Lisa was preparing to enter college, but with her mother's sudden medical expenses, they couldn't afford her education. So, Lisa chose on her own to forego college and started working part-time to cover her living expenses and her mother's medical bills. She had been bearing the burden alone all these years, but now she deeply blamed herself, thinking, "I've caused my daughter so much trouble." Realizing that she couldn't give her daughter a happy life on her own, she reached out for help and called my mother from the hospital. Upon hearing the truth, I got Lisa's contact information from my mother, who had received it from the fiancé. I then contacted Lisa, introduced myself, and arranged a meeting with her in person. I offered to cover her college tuition and her mother's medical bills. But Lisa, true to her serious nature, insisted on handling it herself and declined my offer.
Thank you. I appreciate it. But I'll just take your kind thoughts to heart. I can't burden you with this. I'll be fine.
Are you sure? But please, don't overdo it. You can always reach me, so call if you need anything. Seeing the determination in her eyes, I couldn't force her to take the money, so I respected her decision. For the next 5 years, I made sure to meet Lisa at least once a year to check in on her. Although I was initially worried, Lisa lived up to her words. She juggled multiple part-time jobs to cover her mother's hospital bills and took good care of her after she was discharged. Impressed by her hardworking nature and strong character, I decided a year ago to recruit her to the branch I managed. As I finished explaining, Eric began sweating nervously, clearly recalling the cruel words he had spoken. Now that I've explained everything in detail, you understand why Lisa is a high school graduate from the countryside, don't you? Do you still plan on bullying her because of her background and education?
Of course not. I won't bully her anymore. I'm so sorry for looking down on you so carelessly.
Eric sincerely apologized to Lisa and me. Though Lisa's expression showed discomfort, she decided to forgive him.
It's fine now. I know you look down on me with bad intentions, but it's a waste of time to stay angry.
What? Really? You're going to forgive me? That's a relief. Thank you so much.
Well, that's settled then. Billy, you'll cancel our terminations now, right?
Eric was overjoyed, not even bothered by Lisa's previous remark. Meanwhile, John, with his hands clasped, cautiously asked me. Eric's eyes widened at his words.
Wait, fire? What are you talking about?
Oh, I hadn't explained that to you, Eric. Because of what happened earlier, Billy called and said he was firing everyone. I felt like I was going to die when I heard that. But now that things are resolved, I'm relieved.
John finally explained the situation to Eric. Eric, upon learning the real reason behind John's anxiety, became visibly unsettled.
Hold on, John. You never told me that. If I had known, I would have apologized the moment I walked into the branch manager's office.
We had to rush to Billy, so there wasn't time. And anyway, if you hadn't bullied Lisa, the meeting would have ended as planned. Now apologize quickly.
Oh yes, Billy, I sincerely apologize. And Lisa, I'm so sorry for bullying you. I was in the wrong, I admit it. Please, just don't fire me.
Eric apologized profusely. John also apologized. But my decision remained unchanged. I'm afraid I can't forgive you. Eric, you hurt Lisa, And for that, you, along with John and the branch managers who just watched and laughed, will all be fired. The branch managers might not have known Lisa's true identity, even though they knew I was both chairman and branch manager. Even so, they still bear responsibility for not stopping Eric. They will be punished accordingly.
But we've apologized so much. Why not forgive us? Lisa even said she forgave me.
Regardless of what Lisa said, the fact remains that this incident happened. I can't just let it go. Besides, this isn't just about today's incident. I've received numerous reports about your behavior from John, including your poor work ethic and your habit of relentlessly bullying employees. Eric, who had never imagined his actions were known, turned pale. I had been visiting the headquarters occasionally, and during those visits, John would report on the staff's behavior. So, how's it going? Any problems so far? Any employees struggling or any requests from them?
Well, Billy, there is something about Eric.
Eric again? What now? Is he still causing problems with interpersonal relationships? Despite my frustration, I listened carefully. It seemed that after being transferred to his dream position at the headquarters, Eric became arrogant and started bullying his subordinates and the new hires. He often dumped his work on them while he slacked off. Each time I heard about it, his behavior seemed to be getting worse. Sigh. I received a similar report not too long ago. Not only has there been no improvement, but things have actually gotten worse. Can't something be done about this?
Well, I've tried talking to him, but he just doesn't listen at all.
John replied, sounding resigned. He, too, was becoming a problem in my eyes. John had been the vice president before, and I personally chose him as my successor for the president position. But I deeply regretted that decision. As vice president, he had been efficient and treated employees with respect, making him an excellent candidate. However, after becoming president, he seemed to relax too much, becoming increasingly lazy. Look, John, this is a problem. You're the president, so you need to take more responsibility. You've got to make an effort to improve things. If you can't manage to do that, I'll have to consider removing you from your position as president.
Yes, I understand.
Though he agreed, there was no improvement in his attitude afterward. As I finished explaining, both Eric and John looked down, confused and dejected. John also informed me that sales at the headquarters have been declining. It seems that both new and long-standing employees in the sales department have been resigning one after another. From what I've heard, many of them were bullied by you, Eric.
What? Really? That's just a coincidence, right? I don't know anything about that.
No, since your transfer 4 months ago, resignations have increased. As soon as I heard, I investigated and found that even at your previous branch, there was at least one resignation every month after you became the department head. Clearly, Eric realized he was at fault as he began to show signs of distress.
Oh, well, I didn't know. I mean, as a department head, there's no way I could be that bad of a person, right? Maybe John is mistaken.
During that time, sales at that branch also declined. It seems the same thing is happening at headquarters. With employees leaving due to your bullying, the workforce has been reduced, leading to a drop in sales. If you admit this, maybe you can avoid being fired.
What? Really? All right, I admit it. Everything John reported is true.
Thinking he could avoid punishment, Eric quickly confessed. I then asked him to detail his actions. He went on to explain everything he had done.
Well, I looked down on the new hires, making fun of their education and where they came from. I dumped work and chores on those I didn't like, even made them give me shoulder massages and fetch me tea. And if I really didn't like someone, I'd extort money from them, mess with them behind their backs, and spread nasty rumors.
That's classic bullying. Those poor people. If only I hadn't been away from headquarters, they wouldn't have had to go through that.
So, I've been honest about everything. There's nothing left to hide. That means you'll forgive me now, right?
I grew increasingly angry at Eric's nonchalant attitude. What are you talking about? There's no way I'm forgiving you. You're still going to be fired, so you better brace yourself.
What? But that's not what you said. You told me that if I admitted everything, you'd reconsider the termination.
I never said that. You're twisting my words. I did consider giving you one last chance depending on what you admitted. But after hearing what you've done and seeing your lack of remorse, I'm even more convinced that you need to be fired. Even if you were to return to your branch, you'd only cause trouble there. I said this without hesitation, and Eric's face turned pale as he muttered.
This can't be.
John, now panicked, tried to intervene.
Sorry to interrupt, but about this whole situation, yes, I bear responsibility for not stopping Eric's actions. But the one who should really be held accountable is him, right? So, I don't think it's fair to terminate me as well. So, I can return to the headquarters and resume my duties as president, right?
What? Are you serious? You're absolutely responsible too, John. I've told you countless times to address this issue, but all you did was offer warnings without taking any action. I specifically told you that if you couldn't improve, I'd consider removing you as president.
Yes, but I'm the president of the headquarters. I've been busy with meetings, conferences, and various other duties. I couldn't possibly keep track of every single employee.
John started making excuses to avoid responsibility, but I could see through his lies. John, you might not know this, but I've also been getting reports about the situation at the headquarters from the new vice president, Tom, and that includes your work habits. It seems you've been pushing all your duties onto Tom and executive vice president, Alex.
What? Since when?
John couldn't hide his shock upon realizing that everything had been exposed. According to the vice president, you've been spending most of your time in the president's office, doing nothing. The only president duties you've been involved in are golfing and entertaining clients. While those are important, you've left all other responsibilities to Tom and Alex. No wonder you've sounded so lifeless every time I've called you. You've been completely slacking off.
No, that's not true. I do review documents properly. I just leave the signature tasks to them.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. Delegating your responsibilities. And when it comes to important meetings, you've always found some excuse to send Tom in your place. By the way, your laziness has caused you to lose the trust of your employees as well.
I've pointed that out to you directly before, so you should be well aware of it.
Hearing this, John was more shaken than he had been all day. According to the vice president, John's laziness was apparent even in front of the employees. As a result, the department heads had lost their motivation and were no longer working seriously. Despite my warnings, neither your sales nor your work ethic have improved. You didn't even try to resolve Eric's issue. You just sat around in the president's office. Where did the efficient Vice President John go? Or was that just a figment of my imagination?
I'm sorry. I got carried away after becoming president. I started enjoying the power and the ability to boss others around, but I didn't mean any harm.
I'm not interested in your excuses. I've decided to fire Eric, you, and all the branch managers who just stood by and laughed during the meeting. This is final. No amount of apologies will change my mind. With that, John and Eric panicked and dropped to their knees.
We're truly sorry. Yes, Eric did wrong, but so did I. I admit it, but please, I beg you, don't fire us.
I'm sorry too. It's all my fault. I'll accept any punishment, demotion, pay cut, whatever. Just please don't fire me. I have a family to support.
I told you before, it's too late for apologies. I'm not accepting them. When I rejected their pleas, Eric desperately protested.
Why? We're apologizing. Is it because I bullied your niece, Lisa? Yes, I hurt your brother's daughter, but isn't this too much? It's not like she's your real daughter.
What are you talking about? Sure, she's my late brother's child, but to me, she's like my own daughter now. And Lisa is the treasure my brother left behind. If some stranger hurt her, of course, I'd be furious. Even if she weren't my niece or had no blood relation to me, I still wouldn't forgive you. Eric was at a loss for words, unable to respond. John, seeing his chance, quickly started protest as well.
I may have made mistakes, but they're not as bad as Eric's, right? Billy, you're upset because I've been slacking off, right? That means if I shape up now, you'll forgive me. I promise to fully commit to my duties as president from now on, so please don't remove me from my position. I'm begging you.
No, I can't trust you anymore. You'll just go back to your old ways. I've given you plenty of chances, but you never changed. My decision is final.
No, it's not too late. Give me one more chance. I'll do my job to the best of my ability.
Even though he was now trying to show some effort, I shook my head. It's over. My decision is made. The only thing left for you to do is look for a new job. I wish you luck. Now, I'll be calling a board meeting soon. Lisa, I'm sorry to have kept you waiting. You can go back to work now.
Thank you, Billy. I feel so much better thanks to you. I'll get back to finishing my work.
She smiled warmly and left the office to return to her duties. You two can go now as well. In fact, you should head back to the headquarters. We've been done here for a while. I'll officially notify you of your termination once the decision is final. Until then, you're on administrative leave.
What? You really won't forgive us? Please, I don't want to be fired. I'm truly sorry for everything.
We'll keep apologizing. We'll even lick your shoes if that's what it takes. Just please, don't fire us.
They continued to cling to my feet, begging for forgiveness. Don't make me repeat myself. If you keep this up, I'll call security.
But I really can't afford to lose my jobs. If I get fired over this, my family will abandon me.
I feel the same way. I'm not leaving here until you forgive me.
Their persistence made me sigh. I'm calling security now. Wait right there. I'll have you forcibly removed from this building, and you'll be permanently banned from returning. If you still refuse to leave, I'll call the police.
We'll leave right away. There's no need to involve the police.
We apologize for the trouble.
Finally, Eric and John hurried out of the office. Feeling relieved, I immediately began preparing for their formal punishment. The next day, I convened an emergency board meeting. I explained the situation, including the events that had transpired, and proposed the termination of John, Eric, and the other sales department heads. After receiving approval from the board members who agreed with my decision, I promptly issued termination notices to those who had been placed on administrative leave. The sales department heads, after being fired, reportedly found new jobs or started part-time work to stabilize their lives. As for John, after stepping down, he explained the situation to his family, which he had been hiding from them. As expected, John's wife was fed up and left their home. Although they haven't divorced, his family has yet to return. John is now trying to persuade them to come back while working part-time as a cleaner to support himself. Eric, a week after being fired, explained the situation to his wife. She was furious, leading to a huge argument. In the heat of the moment, she demanded a divorce. Eric, also swept up in the anger, hastily agreed and immediately submitted the paperwork to the local office, finalizing the divorce. They divided their assets, and since they had children, he also became responsible for paying child support every month. Eric tried to find a new job, but due to his age, it was difficult. He is currently working part-time at a construction site. He's pushing his aging body to the limit, working tirelessly to pay for his children's support and to sustain his own living. As for me, I've handed over the branch manager position to a successor and returned to the headquarters, where I'm now mentoring the former executive vice president, who has become the new president. In addition to this, I'm focusing on addressing employee concerns, mentoring new hires, and working towards restoring the company's sales. The new president is a serious and responsible person. So unlike with John, I don't have to worry, and I feel reassured. Meanwhile, Lisa is still excelling in her work in the sales department. Recently, some new employees were assigned to her, and she's been taking on a mentorship role, becoming a respected senior colleague and making significant contributions to the branch. Sometimes we go out for drinks together, and she shares stories from the branch. Lisa's mother has also fully recovered and is now living a healthy life at home. With her mother's recovery, Lisa has become even more cheerful. She's now an indispensable part of Sunny Life Insurance. Lisa will surely be able to lead this company one day. Until then, I intend to continue improving the work environment across the company so that she can work without any worries.